Have you ever realized how many times your kindness has been used against you? Have you ever had the feeling that the more you try to please, the less you are recognized? What if precisely this obsession with being a good person is what is eating you up inside? Everyone sees what we appear to be. Rare are those who really understand who we are. This phrase by Niccolò Machiavelli sums up a lot of what no one wants to admit. The truth is straightforward and painful. You are exhausted. You may not even be able to explain the reason clearly, but feel. You feel as if you carry an invisible weight on your shoulders, a silent responsibility to keep everything working, maintain harmony, avoid friction, understand everyone. From a very early age, you were taught that being kind was the right path, that the righteous win in the end. It is enough to act with honesty, humility, and empathy, and the universe, by natural justice, will recognize this. But what if this is all just a comforting illusion? A well-rehearsed script created to keep you submissive, predictable, easy to control. How many times have you silenced your desires in the name of peace? How many times have you swallowed your crying, your anger, your disappointment, just to not hurt anyone? How many times have you been humiliated, devalued, and still responded with a smile saying, "It is good too"? What if that kindness they praised so much about you is actually a well-polished collar? Society does not reward the good. It rewards those who know how to play. If you're hearing this now, it's because you've already experienced this discomfort. You've already been disappointed by being the kind one, the one who understands, the one who always understands. And you've silently realized that the more you offer, the less they give you in return. The more you bend, the more they demand from you. The more you seek approval, the less they respect you. That's where Machiavelli comes in, not as the villain that many preach, but as someone who had the audacity to reveal what no one wanted to hear. Blind morality, when separated from reality, becomes a dangerous trap. Being perceived as good is not the same as being effective. Trying to please everyone is living as a prisoner of your own kindness. This video is a call to rupture. Let's go through this theater of false morals together. Let's face the uncomfortable, hard, and necessary truth behind the obsession with always being pleasant. You don't need to become a cold person, but you need to wake up. Because as long as you keep trying to satisfy everyone, you will continue to be a prisoner of the image they created for you. If you're tired of being ignored, discarded, used, maybe it's time to learn what no one has ever explained to you: how to stop being the good guy and start being respected. Are you ready? So come with me, because the change starts now. You grew up hearing that it was right to be a good person. That kindness breeds kindness. All you need to do is be honest, fair, patient, and the world will reciprocate. But what if this is all just a well-made-up trap? What if kindness without wisdom is just bait in a world that operates on interests, control, and convenience? The truth is that, in common sense, being good has become synonymous with being invisible, not to impose limits, not to contradict anyone, to avoid confrontations at any cost. Being good turned into suffocating your own pain so as not to bother others. And the cruelest thing, the more you try to be good, the more you distance yourself from your essence. Being good, the way you were taught, is forgetting yourself to fit into other people's expectations. It's living on stage, playing a character that you don't even believe in anymore. It's like acting in a social theater, repeating lines that you no longer believe. And the audience applauds, not out of admiration, but out of convenience. Because as long as you are predictable, approachable, pleasant, you remain harmless. and what does not pose a threat does not earn respect. Machiavelli, in his brutally lucid vision, said that the ruler who wants to be only good will inevitably be destroyed by those who are not. Kindness alone is not virtue, it is naivety. And in this world, naivety is an open invitation to be exploited. A man who always tries to act virtuously will end up ruined among so many who are not virtuous. Niccolò Machiavelli, The Prince. Read that again. Let it hurt if you have to. Because sometimes, freedom is born from pain. The truth is, you were created to please, not to truly live. From a young age, you were taught that acceptance came with obedience. Don't scream. Swallow the crying. Be a good boy. And so, little by little, you learned that feeling was wrong, that reacting was rude, that imposing limits was being aggressive. You have been conditioned to mutilate yourself emotionally just to be accepted. But the question is, accepted by whom? Respected by whom? Valued by whom? Because even if you do everything right, you still feel invisible, keeps begging for recognition. You continue to live with the constant feeling, you are never enough. This is where the collapse begins. His kindness became a prison, decorated with sweet compliments. You're so cool. You understand everything. You are so balanced. But behind every compliment, there is a silent demand. Keep shrinking so that I remain comfortable. And you keep going, even when it hurts, even when it upsets you, even when your silence screams inside. The tragedy? You confuse this suffering with integrity. Believe you are doing the right thing. But the world doesn't respond to your intention. It reacts to your stance. You can have the purest heart and still be trampled on. Because purity without presence becomes a victim. Kindness without strength becomes currency for manipulators, justification for exploiters, and feast for emotional predators. Feed on your guilt, your hesitation, and your desperate thirst for acceptance. And the more you try to prove yourself trustworthy, the more you become a tool, not a person, just a tool. Do you realize this? Have you ever noticed that those who command respect rarely justify themselves? That those who have firm limits, even if they are not loved, are heard? Meanwhile, you, kind, generous, patient, keep being interrupted, overwhelmed, forgotten. Why? Because the world doesn't respect the pleasant. He respects those who impose consequences. Machiavelli was not an advocate of cruelty. He was a surgeon of reality. He saw what most didn't want to see. That blind morality is just another instrument of control. And if you live just to look good, in the end, you lose everything, including yourself. The kind person who refuses to see the game becomes disposable. You can give everything, your time, your love, your loyalty. But the day you are no longer useful, you will be cast aside. And the worst? No guilt, no remorse, because you never asked for anything more. The world understands limits. He doesn't understand sacrifice. So here's an uncomfortable truth you need to hear. Your kindness is imprisoning you, not because it is wrong, but because it is being used against you. And as long as you continue to hide behind the good person label, you are denying your strength, your voice, your dignity. You weren't born trying to please everyone. This approval addiction, this panic in the face of conflict, this fear of being uncomfortable, it was learned. It was conditioned in you. From an early age, you realized, sometimes without words, just with looks and subtle punishments, that being your whole self was not acceptable. He learned that love came with a price, and the price was his silence. As a child, saying, "I didn't like that," or "that hurt me," made you seem spoiled. Crying at the wrong time became embarrassing. Being spontaneous, emotional, true was corrected, shaped, erased. So you adapted. It started small, a fake smile here, and it's okay there. And when he realized it, it changed his life. Swallow feelings. Give in before being asked. Pretend that nothing affects you. You did this to survive emotionally. But this adaptation turned into submission, an automatic abandonment of oneself. You've become an expert at guessing what others want to hear, measuring every word, anticipating frustrations, avoiding any discomfort, just to avoid being rejected. And the cruelest? You think this is empathy. But it's not. It's fear. Fear of being rejected. Fear of being judged. Fear of being called selfish, difficult, insensitive. Fear of being you, with limits, desires, anger, and voice. And as long as you use this fear, disguised as kindness, the world will see you exactly as you present yourself. Weak. Machiavelli knew this. He didn't speak in terms of modern psychology, but he understood human nature better than most. I knew that people respect what imposes consequences, and those who never react, never confront, never impose themselves, are never taken seriously. And that goes for you. You can be kind, but if you never draw the line, it's just convenience. You can be generous, but if you never say enough, you will be sucked dry until there is nothing left. And the worst, no one will feel guilty about this, because the world doesn't measure goodness, it measures usefulness. And if your kindness is always available, without criteria, without limits, without reciprocity, it ceases to be a virtue. It becomes a resource. Have you ever noticed that the nice ones are always running after themselves, always explaining themselves, always apologizing for existing, while those with clear boundaries, even if less nice, are respected, remembered, and listened to? This is no coincidence. It's psychological structure. It's emotional hierarchy. The submissive lives in fear of being left. The assertive person knows who can stay and who needs to go. The submissive hides behind masks of empathy. The assertive person shows their face, even when it bothers them. The submissive hopes that his kindness speaks for itself. The assertive person knows, without presence, there is no respect. His presence is enough to say, "Not with me." He doesn't need to be cruel. It needs to be inevitable. And here's the secret. You need to be both. You need to understand emotional games before they consume you. And you need to be strong enough to make others think twice before testing your limits. As much as it hurts, this is exactly what the world respects. Presence, limits, consequences. You don't need to stop being sensitive, generous, compassionate. But you need to understand that these qualities, without structure, without limits, can become traps. The same compassion that heals can also destroy you if it is given to those who just want to exploit you. Therefore, Machiavelli teaches us to stop seeking approval and start building internal authority. Not that authority that shouts, that dominates, that imposes fear by brute force, but one that commands respect for firm silence, for the clarity of no, for the courage to be who you are, without bowing down for acceptance. And here is the key to transformation. You don't need to become a tyrant. You need to stop being invisible. The world respects those who have power. And that power begins with your ability to say, enough is enough. To stop justifying yourself. To understand that not everyone deserves explanations, let alone your best. You don't need to shout to be heard. You just need to stop asking for permission to exist. The image you convey has weight. If you present yourself as someone who is always approachable, always nice, always available, you will be treated as a resource. and a resource can be discarded at any time. But when you present yourself with presence, firm gaze, clear voice, non-negotiable posture, you start to change the way the world sees you, and most importantly, it starts to change the way you see yourself. Because the greatest power that Machiavelli teaches is not dominating others, is to stop being dominated by the fear of displeasing. You can be loved, yes, but respected in the sense of being taken seriously, of representing a force, is often the surest path to respect, and respect is the basis of any true relationship. Without it, everything is illusion. So look at yourself now. Have you been a fox? Or do you keep falling into emotional traps? Have you been a lion? Or do you live roaring on the inside while smiling on the outside? Is the image you project aligned with the value you carry? Or do you show yourself small, waiting for the world to realize your hidden greatness? The prince, in this context, is you. Yes, you. You need to wake up, take off the cloak of innocence, and put on the armor of clarity. You need to understand that being a strategist does not mean betraying your essence, but protect your truth. And more, giving yourself the right to choose who you give your best to, because your best is not an obligation, it is a gift, and gifts should only be given to those who honor, not to those who consume. It's time for the question you've been avoiding all your life. Do you want to be loved, or do you want to be free? It seems cruel, almost inhumane, doesn't it? But it is the silent choice that Machiavelli forces you to make. Because the search for being loved, when based on fear, need, emotional dependence, it is the most subtle prison of all. And worse, it's a prison where you close the door yourself. You don't need bars when you need approval. You don't need handcuffs when you're afraid of displeasing. You don't need external censorship when you're always sabotaging yourself to fit other people's expectations. The truth that no one wants to accept is this. The obsession with being seen as good, pleasant, cool, it doesn't come from virtue. It comes from the shame of being who you are. And that shame is sneaky. It disguises itself as humility, kindness, empathy. But deep down, it's just your secret belief that you're not enough the way you are. Therefore, you mold yourself, adjust yourself, adapt to each environment, to each person. Say yes when you want to say no. Forgive too quickly. Smile when everything inside you wants to scream. And then, when you realize you've spent your life trying to maintain an image that isn't even yours, you became what others needed you to be and forgot who you were before that. The man who lives only to be loved will always be a slave to other people's gaze. He who wishes to be free must be willing to be misunderstood. This phrase is not Machiavelli's, but it could be. Because what he teaches us is that true freedom begins when you stop worrying about other people's expectations and start living according to what you demand of yourself. But don't be fooled. This path is not easy. It is arid, lonely. Many people will move away. They will say that you have changed, that you have become cold, strange, and you will ask yourself, am I being cruel? You are finally being honest. And honesty, after years of self-deception, scares, bothers. Because it breaks the invisible pact you had with the world. I sacrifice myself, and in return, you love me. But the coin they gave you was fake. It wasn't love, it was convenience. When you decide to abandon the good guy role, of the one who understands everything, of the one who accepts everything, you break that pact and start writing a new contract with yourself. I will be loyal to my truth, even if it costs me the acceptance of those who only knew how to love me when I was silent. True freedom requires you to drop character. It requires you to tolerate the discomfort of not pleasing everyone. It requires you to bear the gaze of those who disapprove of you without lowering your eyes. Because love is worth it does not require its cancellation. And the respect that makes you stronger, not born of submission. It is born from coherence, from the courage to be whole, of the daring to be enough. And here comes the hardest part of all. No one will free you. There will be no applause. There will be no diploma. There won't be a finish line with fireworks saying, "Congratulations, you are now free." You will have to free yourself. In the silence, in discomfort, in anger, you will transform into clarity. In the pain that you will use as a foundation. And when that happens, something changes forever. You will no longer beg for affection. You will no longer beg for recognition. You will choose. It will decide who enters and who stays outside. This is being Prince of himself. It's about stopping being a subject of other people's opinions. It's abandoning the false throne of the good guy and assuming the kingdom of your truth. Yes, you can continue to be a good person, but not at the cost of your soul. Not being a good person who accepts everything in silence. Not someone who cancels himself in the name of kindness that only serves others. Because if so, you are no good. You are domesticated, and no one was born for that. So, I ask you now, directly, bluntly, do you want to be loved, or do you want to be free? The answer is not in your mind. It is in your choices and what you will do from here on. You've gone through 4 layers. He deconstructed the idea of kindness. He recognized the roots of his submissive behavior. He discovered the power hidden in Machiavelli's ideas. And finally, he was faced with the most difficult choice of his adult life. Please the world or be true to yourself. The answer may still be echoing within you, and that's okay. Real transformations don't come with fanfare. They come with silence, pain, and sometimes a little anger. But it is in this discomfort that the truest changes are born. The world respects those who respect themselves. The rest is just theater, and you deserve to get off the stage and take over the script. Now the question is, are you ready to take the next step? Are you ready to stop living to please others and start living according to what you really want? If the answer is yes, I want to invite you to go deeper, because what comes next could change your perspective on life, on power, and on freedom. If you felt touched by this reflection and are ready to step out of the shadow of blind kindness, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Together, let's explore more about how to break free from the traps that keep us stuck. Activate the bell so you don't miss any content that will change the way you see the world and yourself. See you in the next video. Until then,